Ferrari has proven its speed, but has yet to find the consistency needed to win outright. The SF-25 has shown two major problems: difficulties in wet conditions and sudden temperature changes. Questionable strategies left Hamilton and Leclerc at a disadvantage in the previous race. Fred Vasseur made it clear, "In Australia, we didn't see the real Ferrari. In China, we started from scratch." Ferrari has started the 2025 season with high expectations, but the SF-25's performance has been inconsistent in its first races. Despite the technical changes implemented, the results have not been as expected, leading the team to rethink its approach ahead of the Chinese Grand Prix. To understand the challenges facing the Scuderia, it is key to analyze the most obvious problems and what the team has learned so far. The first obstacle has been the lack of competitiveness in wet conditions and sudden temperature changes. During the Australian Grand Prix, the SF-25 struggled to reach optimal tire temperatures, a problem that directly affected the car's on-track performance. In qualifying and the race, drivers experienced a loss of grip and a lack of stability in key sections of the circuit, compromising their lap times and ability to defend positions. One of the factors behind this problem is the design of the suspension system, which, although modified with the introduction of the pull rod at the front, still lacks the flexibility necessary to quickly adapt to changing conditions. Compared to Red Bull and McLaren, whose cars achieved more efficient tire warm-up management, Ferrari was at a disadvantage at critical moments of the race. The second issue that has plagued Ferrari at the start of the season has been strategic decision-making. During the first few races, the team made mistakes in tire selection and pit stop management. In Australia, the choice of intermediate tires at a time when the track hadn't dried sufficiently resulted in a considerable loss of pace for Hamilton, leaving him vulnerable to his direct rivals. Race decisions have been a recurring theme at Ferrari in recent years, and 2025 has been no exception. The lack of clarity in communication with the drivers has raised questions about the team's ability to react quickly to changes in race conditions. In a championship as competitive as the current one, where every tenth of a second counts, these errors can mean the difference between fighting for victory or missing out on the podium. The third major challenge for Ferrari has been Lewis Hamilton's adaptation to the SF-25. Despite his experience and ability to adapt to different driving styles, the seven-time world champion has noted that this car is completely different from what he had previously driven for Mercedes. The transition to a car with a completely different design philosophy has required adjustments to his driving style, which has been reflected in his lap times and race performance. In the first practice session in Australia, Hamilton finished 12th, improving to 5th in the second session. Although there has been progress, the adaptation process has not been immediate. Ferrari needs to work on finding a setup that allows Hamilton to feel more comfortable with the car so he can maximize his performance in qualifying and the race. Despite these issues, Ferrari has learned important lessons from the first few races of the season. The team has identified specific areas where urgent improvements are needed ahead of the Chinese Grand Prix. Tire management in adverse conditions, optimizing race strategy, and adapting Hamilton to the SF-25 are all areas Ferrari must address quickly if it wants to close the gap on Red Bull and McLaren. With the pressure mounting, the Scuderia has little room for error. The Chinese Grand Prix will be a crucial test to assess whether Ferrari has managed to address these shortcomings and whether the SF-25 is capable of competing on equal terms with the championship's leading teams. Ferrari has been working intensively on a series of key improvements for the 2025 Chinese Grand Prix to address the issues identified in the season's opening races. The team has identified three key areas where urgent changes are needed to make the SF-25 more competitive and compete with Red Bull and McLaren on equal terms. The first area of improvement focuses on the car's adaptation to changing weather conditions. One of the main issues with the SF-25 has been the difficulty generating and maintaining optimal tire temperatures, especially on circuits with lower temperatures or mixed conditions. During the Australian Grand Prix, the lack of grip in wet conditions was evident, affecting race pace and limiting the driver's ability to extract the car's full potential. To address this issue, Ferrari has worked on specific adjustments to the car's suspension and downforce. Modifying certain elements of the front wing and floor will allow for better airflow distribution, helping the tires warm up faster and improving the car's balance in different conditions. In addition, simulator testing has been conducted to optimize the SF-25 setup based on the characteristics of the Shanghai track, where long straights and medium and high-speed corners require a very precise aerodynamic approach. The second major improvement focuses on suspension efficiency. Ferrari has opted for a pull rod system at the front of the car, following the trend set by Red Bull and McLaren. However, data from the first races has shown that the initial setup did not provide the expected level of stability and control, especially in fast corners and sudden changes of direction. The team has worked on modifications to the suspension geometry to improve overall rigidity and reduce uneven tire wear under race conditions. The goal is to achieve a more predictable and stable car, allowing drivers to attack with greater confidence in areas where the SF-25 has shown weaknesses. In Shanghai, where the first corner is one of the most demanding on the calendar and where stability under braking is crucial, this improvement will be decisive for the car's performance. The third area of work has been the optimization of the wheelbase and the management of aerodynamic flow at the front of the car. Ferrari has redesigned the position of the side pods to reduce turbulence generated by the front wheels, allowing better airflow to the rear of the car. This change seeks to increase the overall aerodynamic efficiency of the SF-25 and improve its performance on straights and high-speed corners. Shanghai is a circuit that combines long straights with high downforce corners, so Ferrari needs a perfect balance between top speed and stability in the most technical sections of the track. Reducing aerodynamic drag without compromising downforce will be a key factor in the car's performance throughout the weekend. The work in these three areas aims to provide the drivers with a more consistent and effective platform for racing in China. Ferrari knows it cannot afford another weekend of adaptation issues, so these improvements have been designed to maximize the SF-25's performance at one of the most demanding circuits on the calendar. The on-track result will be the ultimate test of whether the team has managed to take the step forward it needs to fight for victory. Lewis Hamilton has been one of the key signings for the 2025 season, and his arrival at Ferrari has generated enormous expectations. With 7 world titles under his belt, his experience and adaptability are seen as a key asset for the Italian team in its fight for the championship. However, the British driver's transition to the SF-25 has not been easy. One of the biggest challenges Hamilton has faced in his first races with Ferrari has been adapting to a car with a completely different design philosophy than Mercedes. For over a decade, Hamilton competed with a specific car concept, developed under the guidance of engineers with whom he worked closely year after year. Now, he must adjust his driving style to a car that responds differently to weight distribution, downforce, and tire management. Hamilton himself has acknowledged that the SF-25 is a car that demands a different driving technique than he was used to. In the first practice sessions of the season, his times were less competitive than those of his teammate Charles Leclerc. In the first free practice session in Australia, Hamilton finished in 12th place, although he managed to improve to 5th in the second session. Despite this progress, the adaptation process is still ongoing, and the key to his success with Ferrari will depend on how quickly he can adjust his driving style to the specific characteristics of the SF-25. The relationship with the team and communication with the engineers also play a crucial role in this process. Hamilton has emphasized the importance of working closely with Ferrari technicians to develop a setup that suits his needs. The Scuderia, for its part, has shown great willingness to integrate its experience into the development of the car, seeking a balance between driver preferences and optimal performance of the SF-25. As they adapt, the fight for the championship is becoming increasingly intense. Ferrari is in a position where it cannot afford to lose ground to McLaren and Red Bull, teams that have demonstrated a very high level of competitiveness since the start of the season. The key for the Scuderia will be to maximize every opportunity on the track, minimizing strategic errors and ensuring that both Hamilton and Leclerc can extract the car's full potential. Managing the dynamic between the two drivers will also be a determining factor in the fight for the championship. Leclerc, who has been with Ferrari since 2019, perfectly understands the team's philosophy and has proven to be an extremely fast and consistent competitor. In the early races of the season, his performance has been superior to Hamilton's, but as the Briton becomes more comfortable with the SF-25, the internal rivalry could intensify. The balance between allowing fair competition between the two drivers and maintaining a strategic focus in the fight against rivals will be a challenge for the team. Ferrari's recent history has shown that driver management can make the difference in the final outcome of a season. The Scuderia will need to ensure that strategic decisions benefit the team's overall performance without generating unnecessary tensions within the garage. The Chinese Grand Prix will be a crucial test to measure Hamilton's progress in adapting to the SF-25 and to assess whether Ferrari has managed to close the gap on its direct rivals. A good result in Shanghai could be the turning point the team needs to establish itself as a serious title contender, while any mistake or lack of competitiveness could jeopardize its season aspirations. With the current level of competition in Formula One, every race is a valuable opportunity to score points and make a difference in the standings. Ferrari needs Hamilton at his best as soon as possible, and the Briton is aware of the importance of accelerating his adaptation process. His experience in championship battles will be essential in a season that promises to be one of the most closely contested in recent years. The Chinese Grand Prix represents a key moment in the season for Ferrari. After a bumpy start to the year, the Scuderia arrives in Shanghai needing to demonstrate that the improvements implemented in the SF-25 have been effective and that the team is ready to compete at the highest level. The performance in the first few races has made it clear that the car has great potential, but also that there are issues that need to be resolved to keep its title aspirations alive. The ability to adapt to changing weather conditions, the optimization of race strategy, and Lewis Hamilton's development with the car are factors that will determine Ferrari's success at this stage of the season. The competition against McLaren and Red Bull is intensifying, and any mistake could mean a considerable loss of points in the fight for the Constructors' Championship. The team has worked to correct the deficiencies that became evident in the first few races, but the true indicator of progress will be the on-track performance. In Shanghai, where aerodynamics play a crucial role and tire management can define the outcome, Ferrari will have the opportunity to validate the changes made to the SF-25 and demonstrate that it can compete at the highest level. For fans, Ferrari's current form generates mixed expectations. On the one hand, there is hope that the team has managed to improve its weaknesses and can fight for victory in China. On the other, there is concern that strategic issues and Hamilton's difficulties adapting will continue to affect the team's performance. The upcoming races will be decisive in determining whether Ferrari is in a position to fight for the title or whether it will have to focus its attention on preparing the car for the 2026 season. The outcome in Shanghai will be a definitive test for Ferrari. If the improvements work, the team could establish itself as a serious championship contender. If inconsistencies persist, the gap with its rivals could widen, complicating its chances in the fight for the drivers' and constructors' titles. The season is just beginning, but every point is crucial in such a competitive championship. Ferrari has the talent, resources, and ambition to return to the top, but now it must prove it on the track. The Chinese Grand Prix will be the stage to see whether the Scuderia has taken the necessary step forward or whether it continues to face the same challenges that have limited its performance in recent years. The question remains, can Ferrari prevail in China and prove it's ready to fight for the title? The answer will be on the asphalt.